Last night, I literally, in the middle of the night, because I was so fucking cold, I went downstairs and got one of Anya's old beds, and I had no more sheets. So I went down there and got it and just put it over my feet, and I swear, like within like 5 minutes, it'd done the job. But I was just like,
Yeah, that's.
damn
I
it.
always remember that story about when Tony first started sleeping in dog beds.
I didn't sleep on the dog bed.
Dog bed would be a good name for a band.
Our music is rough.
This is Epic Battle Cries Skirmish 220! A good name for a band!
Hello and welcome to Epic Battle Cry. This is the place where we cut through the crap to bring you the real deal and gaming stores today.
Never mind.
Yeah, my extremities are freezing. I'm your host, Tony Grice, and with me, as always, is Brent Adams and Daniel Kaiser, if they haven't frozen to death already. Brent?
Yes.
What?
Well, I'm going to go to Brent first, but DK, you lead it in. No, DK, how you doing this week, man?
I'm doing good, TG in 3D. I am currently actually not as cold as you guys on the East Coast, even up here in the mountains of Denver. And also, I'm not Michael Bay, so there's that.
You
So
know,
you're not just
always
gonna,
look on the bright side of life, I say.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I feel actually really, speaking of freezing up, I feel bad for Michael Bay and what happened at CES. But as someone who does have to speak in front of people, sometimes that is always your worst nightmare. But I think he was just thinking about how much money he has and he just needed to go count it. I'm not sure.
Or he was thinking about how little talent he has, and it
Yes.
finally just, like the pressure finally just got to him.
It was amazing. There was the first time a script actually meant anything to him. And
Nicely done. Oh, no, I can't laugh. I can't expend the calories. Jesus. Jesus.
Well, Brent, if you can, how are you doing this week in as little energy as possible?
What's up? My Ripley's of Ravage! My pictures of pain!
nice.
How art thou?
Nice. And that would be baseball pitchers, not pitchers of like beer. Although
No,
I like
pictures of beer would be
Either
welcome
works,
at this
right?
point.
Yeah.
But you're not getting either, as we'll talk about in the gauntlet. So yeah, it's cold here. Now, cold is obviously a relative thing. For where I live and where a cold winter is usually in the teens, the fact that we're in the negative.
Yeah.
Negative below freezing, or what am I say below freezing? This is below 0 Fahrenheit for our international fans. -2, -3 degrees Fahrenheit. That is very, very cold for
Chilly.
where I live. Now, of course, like you said, these things are all relative. Chicago, up there in Illinois, is
Negative
it's
17,
like
wasn't that what I heard? Or
I thought it was
something?
like I think like last night. I don't know. I think it like got down to like maybe like -30 last night.
Yeah.
That's
It's
pretty
geez.
fucking cold.
So cold in Chicago that they delayed Watch Dogs again.
Nicely played. So anyway, I'm sure there are people, I'm sure there are people like, live like in Northern Europe or whatever. They're just laughing at us right now.
Yeah.
But they're like -2. That is t-shirt weather. But I am not one of those people. This is ball shrinking cold.
Well,
Lovely picture there.
well, we got plenty of stuff to go over this week, so let's go ahead and run through the gauntlet.
Gauntlet!
All right, guys, we're here in the gauntlet, and the first story we've got up is some kind of we got a couple surprise announcements out of CES this week, and the first one we're going to talk about is PlayStation Now. Brent,
Yes.
what's this new service, and what's it going to do for us?
Well, PlayStation Now is essentially the unveiling of the PlayStation Gaikai service that they spent so much of the PlayStation 4 announcement press event talking about. They didn't have the name PlayStation Now at the time, but David Perry took the stage at the PS4 announcement and at the PS4 announcement presser, and talked quite a bit about what they saw the technology from Gaikai being able to do in the next console generation, and PlayStation Now is the unveiling of that. So here's what we know right now. PlayStation Now is going to allow an OnLive or Gaikai-like game streaming service that will cover the library of PlayStation games from PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 eras. As of right now, you'll be able to not only stream those titles to PlayStation devices like the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation 4, and the Vita, but also to non-PlayStation devices such as televisions, tablets, and smartphones. Now, there's going to be a closed beta that is supposed to begin at the end of January, and the launch for the mainstream public is anticipated to happen sometime over the summer. We don't have an exact date on either of those.
Yeah.
So, given that this, I think that we all feel, or certainly I felt, that the lack of backwards compatibility in the PlayStation 4 would have to be addressed at some point. It's always been such a big part of Sony's strategy, and given the fact that they talked about this so extensively during the PlayStation 4 launch event, we could only surmise that this was something that was a very big deal to them.
Yeah.
And now we're finally getting the first details. What do you guys think about this? Do you think that Sony's going to be able to pull this off? And do you think that this is going to be a feature set that's really going to set the PlayStation 4 ahead in 2014?
Well, yeah, it's a great question. I really think that it depends on how they approach it. First and foremost, I'm pleasantly surprised at the timing. I don't think a lot of us expected for this to be talked about
this soon,
not this soon, and also
Not right now.
Right, not now. That was a pun from Tony.
Later, yeah.
But the with this having a beta here in the U.S. In January and then maybe launching this summer, I mean that's relatively quick compared to what we were thinking. So that is good. What I'm interested in, though, to ask your question, will this be something? It has the potential to be huge, but right now accessing the games across that very vast library of really good content, which they have in their favor. It depends on two things. A, which games they select. I mean, if you look at, services like the Virtual Console and whatnot, it's not necessarily just this vast open library of whatever you want. It's kind of what they select and what they think will be popular. So the way in which they designate titles, I think, is going to be huge. The more the merrier, obviously, the more selections. But also the renting, you have to rent them or opt into a subscription model. And no one knows what that's going to be like, what the pricing structure is going to be like, what it's like to rent it, what this is to experience something. You bought a PS4, but you've skipped out on The Last of Us possibly. So now you could rent it, but you can't own it, I guess. So, I mean, there's interesting, little dimensions of this story that have the ability to go either way. But on the whole, I'm impressed with the timing, and I think they have a large opportunity to continue differentiating themselves from the competition, especially when we see what they've done with PS Plus and how they keep wowing our socks off. It shows a commitment to great content, and I'm hopeful that will translate to what they're doing with PlayStation Now as well.
Yeah, it's you hit on two specifically, but I mean there's three main things. There's the selection of games, which is a huge thing. I mean, like, I hate to say it, but if the one game that you're wanting to play is not available on it, well, then that really takes the service from being a must-have to a couldn't care less. So the selection they have, and like, does it rotate out? Like, so you can only play a certain game this month, and it may not be there next month, or if it just builds upon builds, that's a huge thing. Mm-hmm. The cost is going to be huge, which I think is kind of interesting to see that Sony went from essentially having no kind of income revenue stream from their digital services prior to this console generation, with very little. PlayStation Plus, I think, was very lightly used on the last console generation, the last year or so,
right.
And now it's been a huge kind of influx of people with the PlayStation 4 and with the Vita and everything like that using it going forward. I think it's kind of interesting they're adding like a second tier of stuff. I assume it's a second tier. Who knows? I mean, maybe you get some sort of discount if you're a PlayStation Plus member. I don't know.
Maybe they give you like a certain number of free rentals each month as a PlayStation Plus member.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of things they could add to it. I do think, though, there is also the performance thing in there as well.
Sure.
Like, just doing a few things with the Vita and cross-platform play stuff where, it's not a lot of lag. I mean, in most cases, it's like milliseconds of lag, but that makes a huge difference in certain games. Yeah. Like NBA 2K14, in my opinion, is almost unplayable because of the timing you need for for making your shots and things like that.
Wait. Are you using the Knicks? Because that's probably why.
No, that's a fair point. But no, I wasn't. Because, I mean, who'd pick the Knicks?
Who'd pick the Knicks?
I would, back in the day.
I'm just kidding. But I do think that, if that performance of that service is really top notch, well, then I definitely think if all three of those things are there, this is a huge thing for their for their market or whatever you want to say. But like if only one or two of them or maybe none of them are perfect, then it really does become kind of a diminishing returns, I think.
One thing that I was really looking for in this announcement and I didn't see and I still am waiting on is PC support. They went out of their way to talk about how the DualShock... It still looks like
it's all Sony devices, It's like all Sony-made stuff, even though it's not PlayStation stuff. It's like Bravia TVs. I think it's Xperia phones and Android phones. Like, I mean, I don't know. I agree.
That's the thing that I'm looking... Well, I mean, it's not like Sony doesn't fucking make PCs, too,
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing I'm looking for. I'm looking for PC support. They went out of their way to talk about the DualShock 4 being compatible, with PCs natively. Although they still need to write a fucking driver for it, but the point is, they went out of their way to talk about that. They talked about how they saw the PlayStation, what we now know to be the PlayStation Now service. They intimated that this would be something that would move beyond Sony and PlayStation platforms. I'd really like to see native PC support. And I mean, let's face it, as I recall, Gaikai worked just fine on the PC, so it seems to me that unless the technology has just evolved well past what it was when Sony purchased Gaikai,
they basically have to go out of their way to remove it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, exactly,
it seems to me that they've got a working client for PlayStation now.
Or they just make that choice, like they, for whatever reason, like I can't really think of a good reason, but whatever reason they decide to keep away from.
But that's what I
anyway. Maybe we'll see it on
a
Steam machine at some point.
Well, yeah, or just a fucking web browser. I mean, like OnLive's pretty platform agnostic.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
that's what I want to see.
Yeah. All right, well, on to our next story, in a story that I think proves that Sega merely needed to make a game in Aliens Colonial Marines to keep the license going, I guess.
It would explain a great many things.
Because obviously whatever they were doing with that, they were spending more time on their next game coming out. DK, you want to tell us a little bit about Alien Isolation?
Yeah, we didn't know anything about this game, and then boom, it jumped out at us, as I guess aliens tend to do. But anyway, Alien Isolation is a new title by Sega and the Creative Assembly, which is coming in 2014 to PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, Xbox One, Xbox 360, and PC. And unlike Colonial Marines, the action fest that was Colonial Marines, this is much more focused on being a first-person survival horror experience that is grounded in the roots of trying to capture the horror and tension of the 1979 film by Ridley Scott. The media, I like the way they announced this in that they gave us a lot of information right out of the gate and a lot of media to look at. The game looks really good. I think just graphically, it's really what you're on board for in terms of the style. They talk at length during the announcement, media and accompanying articles and whatnot, just about their approach to the design. They're strictly focused on creating the Aliens experience that fans really wanted, like kind of out of the movie, a survival horror type of experience. And if you listen to them talk about their objectives with the game, it's all about creating a better survival experience as opposed to a more action-oriented type of gameplay. So,
and I think that they speak about how it's focused mainly on the first Alien movie,
yes.
Which is very different in feel from like Aliens, which is the Colonial Marine kind of thing that we see in most Aliens games, frankly.
Yes. In their announcement, they said the atmosphere of the game is described as being, quote, a constant dread and mortal danger as an unpredictable, ruthless xenomorph is stalking and killing deep in the shadows. And they made a point of the fact that there's only one. Or at least that's what they're telling us in the story thus far. So it's this real tense situation that where, to not be seen is an advantage, but also, if you can see the alien, he can see you. So I think they're going in a good direction with this. I think it might be a little too soon because there's such a bad taste left in people's mouth after Colonial Marines, which, to be honest, I'm still shocked that Gearbox didn't deliver something great on that, because Gearbox is a great developer and that's a great IP. I just think that was just ill-conceived and poorly executed as a game. And I will say this, lastly, I went to the reveal event for Colonial Marines in New York, and when they tried to do this moment of like, you walk in and then the alien jumps out, it completely fell flat, and everyone in the room felt it. Like there was no oomph to it. There was no tension really to it. And then he just started shooting shit. And already in the media for this, there seems to be a lot of tension, which I think befits this series very well. So,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the thing that I always liked about the Dead Space series, and the reason that the first Dead Space game specifically was such a favorite of mine from the last gen, was because it kind of invoked the spirit of Alien,
Right.
in a lot of its tension and anticipatory dread, and I think that is certainly a
Like prom night.
yeah, basically, that is certainly in the sandbox of the first Alien film, and would definitely make for a great and true survival horror experience.
Yeah.
So the question, as you point out, is just, number one, having a good direction doesn't necessarily mean a good game, as Aliens Colonial Marines taught us. I mean, that seemed to be a no-brainer for an action FPS, and yet it didn't work. Now, admittedly, I don't think it's all down to Gearbox. It seems like the development of that game was so splintered and so fractured that maybe in retrospect, it's no big surprise that it didn't really work out all that well.
Yeah.
But in any case, I think the direction is certainly solid, and as you point out, if Creative Assembly can deliver on the promise here, then yeah, they'll really have something. But even if they make a really, really great game, they are going to have to overcome that hurdle of Aliens, Colonial Marines, and the fool me twice mentality that gamers might have when it comes to this. Now, having said all that, a great game will win people over, and if it's a great game, people are going to talk about it being a great game. The word will get out, but they are not going. I don't think that they're going to get people giving them the benefit of the doubt where Aliens, Colonial Marines people might have done that. I think they are definitely going to have to prove to the gaming community that they've got the goods with this. And based on the footage that they've shown off, they seem to be off to a good start. The game certainly looks great, and I definitely like what they're talking about in terms of how it's going to play. Time's going to tell if it lives up to, I think, the potential we all see in it.
Yep. Yeah, the visually, I definitely agree. I think it looks great, but I also seem to remember us thinking Colonial Marines looked a lot better than it ended up being.
Yeah, you're right.
Too.
You're right. It's almost like it looked better.
It's almost like it looked better when they first.
You're right, and again, like they're gonna. I mean, I'm sorry that might not be fair to Creative Assembly, but I mean that's the way the world works.
And they even say at the beginning of the video, like, this is off of like sort of like, I think, pre-alpha footage or something. They say something to that effect, and I'm just like, you're already preparing people a little bit. But no, I think the game looks phenomenal. I've always loved Alien, like the first. I loved Aliens. I loved the Alien franchise as a whole, but I just loved the first one. The first one to me was so good. That's one reason why I actually just recently watched Prometheus again. And even though, well, no, I don't hate it as much as other people did. But
no, I don't hate it either. But
I love sort of the, I don't know, like the time frame that I think Alien was in. Like as they went further on, frankly, it was very much alongside something like Resident Evil. Like I thought what Resident Evil started out with in the first game, it never quite got back to that. Like it went more action heavy throughout the rest of the series.
Much like Alien did.
Exactly. Right. And so anyway, I've always liked the series. I think the game looks great. I think that my only small worry is, what is the company that's putting this game together, like all they've done for the last 14 years is like
Total War.
Total Rome. Yeah, it's like war simulation.
Yeah, they've done like 10 Total War games.
And those games have been great. I've played a few of them over time, and I mean, like, it's not my type of game in general, but they're actually, I've still enjoyed them, the few that I've played. But it just does worry me just a little that this being their kind of first outing, and also going into territory where people might already be a little bit hesitant to maybe give them a shot. But anyway,
that's kind of developer typecasting. It's like, all they've ever done is this, so that's all they can do. And that's.
I mean, if they hadn't done like 20 in the last 14 years, I would agree with you. But I
totally see your point. But at the same time, it's like saying like, oh, Mark Hamill played Luke Skywalker. There's no way he'd be a good Joker.
Yeah, but I think it's more like Steven Seagal has played Steven Seagal in 20 movies. I think we can accept Steven Seagal in another movie. Like,
I like Steven Seagal.
Sure. It's too bad you don't live in Arizona. You might get the chance to vote for him for governor.
Yay.
And you just cursed this game because you somehow compared it to Steven Seagal.
You did that, not me.
All right. So next up, we've got some other interesting news of a title we had heard nothing about until just recently, and that is a new game from the team behind Left 4 Dead. Brent, what's evolving here?
Well, we've got a big Game Informer spread talking about a game called Evolve, which, as you said, came from Turtle Rock Studios, the team behind Left 4 Dead and Counter-Strike. And Evolve is going to be published by 2K Games. It's a big new multiplayer title. It's a 4-player versus 1-player controlled monster multiplayer title. And
Pac-Man, basically.
Yeah, basically. So what we know about it is that it's a sci-fi first-person, or it's a sci-fi shooter. We presume a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
As I said, you'll have 4 players that are going to be battling online against a player-controlled monster that's going to evolve as the multiplayer match continues. It will grow in size and in its ability to threaten players as the match progresses.
Just like Bobby Kotick.
Basically, yeah. I mean, basically, this is the people versus Bobby Kotick. Oh, I should trademark that. That's a good title. So anyway, but
good name for a band.
Yes, it is. That's a great name for a band. What kind of music would they play?
Awful music.
The crew of 4 players, basically you're alien hunters, and each of you has unique abilities. So it's got kind of a class-based mode of thinking behind each of these 4-player roles. And that the Game Informer article notes that Evolve is being developed with variability and replayability in mind, and offering players, quote, a set of cooperative and competitive multiplayer elements that's unlike anything they've played before. So that's kind of what we know. Evolve is going to be available on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC in fall of this year, 2014.
That's pretty bold. Competitive and cooperative multiplayer elements that are unlike anything we've played before?
Could also just be marketing hype.
Well, I know, but that's why now I want to know what they're talking about, because to me, I'm just seeing this giant lizard dude, and the guys
I think they just told you, so maybe
the guys from Metro Last Light look like they stopped by for a little while, and now it's I don't know what's going on, but hey, I think it sounds cool. Let's especially with their pedigree, you could bet a couple of things. It's going to be fast paced. It's going to be intense. It's going to reward skill based play. I would imagine all those types of things. But I do kind of dig the art style and what they're doing. So let's just see. There's really nothing that we can say about this just yet until we actually see some media beyond kind of some loose pieces of art. But I'll put it on the radar.
Yeah. No, it does look interesting. I think the concept. For anybody that's played Left 4 Dead or even just in general some of the zombie type modes and stuff like that, it'd be kind of interesting to see this. How different is it? And I guess in a roundabout way, what is the balance of who wants to be the one main baddie going against the other 4? What's that about? Are people going to constantly be wanting to play that role and not wanting to play the other, or you have to wait in lobbies to get? It does seem like it's
how are they going to make the gameplay compelling enough that everybody kind of wants to
do all the
both sides, all the roles that are required.
Yeah. But definitely, sounds pretty interesting. Like say the pedigree of the team, I don't think that there's probably anything to worry too much about. It probably will be. Pretty popular. All right. Well, something that apparently isn't going to be popular for a lot of people out there that are baseball fans is the fact that MLB 2K will no longer be a thing. DK, you want to?
This kind of sucks.
Bad news.
So
I'm not even that big a baseball fan, and I think this sucks pretty badly.
Yeah, MLB The Show, which is Sony's platform exclusive baseball franchise, is pretty much the only game in town at this point. They're pitching a shutout. Of course, there's nobody at the plate because we just learned this past week 2K Sports basically just took down all existence for the MLB 2K series, including getting rid of its Facebook page, its website, the forums.
So this is like a really bad breakup where you deny existence of the other
or they're
human
trying
being.
to hide the body. I don't know what. I mean, those games weren't great. At some point, there was a little bit more of a competitive level, but the MLB The Show has been such a great baseball game for Sony on its platform. It's been far and away, in much the way that 2K's basketball franchise has been the best for years now. But the lack of competition.
But at least it was multi-platform, right? I mean,
yeah,
at least
that
you had
was
it on
multi-platform. And what this means is if you're a baseball fan and have an Xbox One, there's no baseball game for you, which is pretty odd.
There'll probably be like some Connect Sports Rivals baseball.
So there's no baseball game for you.
Home run derby.
I'll repeat it. But basically, this is the boat that we're in, and I don't really know how to feel about it because I know, while I didn't rush out and pick up all the baseball games every year, I am a huge sports fan. I enjoy them. I think competition is central to being able to foster innovative ideas and just it's much better for consumers when brands are competing against one another, and to have this completely up and go away. And the quote from 2K was, "We've decided not to renew our MLB 2K series for 2014. We're very proud of the achievements made by the MLB 2K team and look forward to their contributions to our future titles, including NBA 2K." And they remind us, our industry #1 rated and #1 selling basketball franchise. So they got all their eggs in one basket with NBA 2K. They're kicking butt over there. So they're basically pooling all their resources to make that even better and abandoning MLB. What do you guys think of this situation? The no-hitter is being tossed.
I'd love to say that I cared, but I don't. I don't follow baseball. I sure as fuck don't play baseball-related games.
Even just the competition piece of it, like just the having
I totally agree with that. But other than that, I got no interest in this whatsoever. I don't know what to tell you.
DK, I'm in the same boat with you, and I'm even less of a sports fan than you are, but probably more so than Brent is. And I will pick up a sports games every once in a while. Yeah. And I will admit that the last baseball game I had, I think, was like the 2010 or something like that, MLB The Show, which was awesome. It was a great game, and I do think it is one of those things where it used to be back in the day you had a couple of companies and they would make like all the sports games and they kind of compete against, or at least one would make 2 games in this game, and then they'd all compete against EA or whatever. Right. Well, now you basically got there's only one. Let's be honest. There's only one NBA game out anymore. Yep. There's only one football game out anymore.
Like
there's only one baseball game,
and they just go with it.
Yeah. Well, and the only thing though is baseball is the one though that is platform dependent. It's only on Sony's platform, and I think this is. I think this is kind of a bad thing. I think that the competition really would be nice. I do have a theory though. And I'm not putting this out that I think this is like that. I really think this is going to happen, but this is a theory that I think would be interesting if it came to be.
Hit me.
I think that there is one other franchise that 2K has had at one point that was very successful, and I would love to see them start working behind the scenes on another football game.
That would be amazing.
And I know the licensing and all that crap going on, but there's so many ways around those deals now, or so many like ways of licensing other
they tried
like
the non-licensed football game, and the football game was good, but nobody bought it because there was nobody in it, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, can't they do things with like the player leagues and stuff like that?
Things have changed. Yes, things have changed.
So anyway, it would be interesting to me to see if they just said like, look. Baseball, unfortunately, just wasn't selling. We couldn't quite get on a rhythm with the quality that something like our NBA series has been fucking phenomenal. Yeah. And we I would love to see them work on something else. Because let's be honest with you, do they really want the guys that worked on NBA or MLB 2K to work on NBA 2K? Because I don't think the game was as good as the same equivalent NBA. So
that's true. And the last thing I'll say is just it does open the platform of the Xbox specifically to having a non-contender on that platform, because Sony's not going to bring its game to the Xbox. So if you are have any vested interest in creating a sports title, the Xbox platform is wide open. You almost have exclusivity for doing that. So if there's a developer / publisher out there who cares about America's pastime, I task you with getting some balls.
All right, guys, we are here in the main topic this week, and last week we talked a little bit about our favorite games of 2013, but that 2013 so
old, dude.
So last year, and we're moved on to what our most anticipated games are for this coming year. I think 2014 we got 2 new consoles out there. We've got a new PC/console unit coming down the pipe. We've got a lot of things, a lot of possibilities out there, a lot of new franchises starting. So we want to talk a little bit about the games that we're most looking forward to playing over the next year. DK, do you want to kind of start us off? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So last week, like you mentioned, we had tremendous response talking about the games of the year. If you missed that episode, go back and check it out, as Tony, Brett, and I ran those down. And we said we were going to talk about most anticipated this week. We're using Faves List, the website that is the social media site that's all about sharing your favorite things. And we have these in a nice organized list. And we also have the public list that we'll get to at the end of this, talking about what everyone has ranked as their most anticipated. So the way I approached my most anticipated games on Faves List is by thinking of the things that had the most potential. I think I kind of compartmentalize things and say, well, I know that's going to be pretty good, so I maybe put it a little bit lower, even though I'm actually looking forward to it. It's the prospect, the potential of what the games provide that gets me the most excited. So I'll run some of those down as we go around the horn here. And I just say that because games like Watch Dogs, I'm really looking forward to Watch Dogs. I'm looking forward to Infamous Second Son, but they're not in my top 3. We're just going to talk about our top 3 here on today's show for time limitations. But I'll start off with which is number 3 for me. And if you look at my Faves List, you'll notice that Legend of Zelda Wii U is the number 1 most anticipated game. But that's we're not talking about games that we don't think are going to come out in 2014 on this episode of the show. It would be awesome if that did, but I highly doubt that.
Hey, who knows?
It would be awesome. It would be amazing. It would be amazing. I'll just say Legend of Zelda Wii U is my number 1 most anticipated game. So numbers 2, 3, and 4 are what we're referring to as numbers 1, 2, and 3. So at number 3 here today,
thank goodness that's not confusing.
Sure.
Yeah, thank God.
Destiny is my the game that I'm talking about first. And I think I'm really excited just about the possibility of this, to see what Bungie does. I've been interested in this game since day 1, just because I'm not a huge shooter guy, but I do enjoy Halo, and I've always thought that what they brought to the table with this, especially with their mantra of kind of bringing a new type of entertainment experience that's going to span a long, long time. I'm really interested in seeing what they cook up. And plus, out of everything, this game just looks really, really fun to me. So I'm really excited to see what Bungie cooks up with Destiny, especially with the public events and the type of multiplayer experience that it's going to bring to the table. The character customization, I love the art style. So this is a game that I'm really looking forward to experiencing. Probably be playing it on the Xbox One. So looking forward to that. But yeah, that's my 3rd most anticipated game of titles coming out in 2014.
I agree with that. That's also one that I'm really looking forward to. I think it sounds very interesting, and the whole idea of just it becoming just this huge expansive universe that you're going to spend years exploring. Mm-hmm. That's a really fascinating idea.
It is. I'm really excited to see what they do and how they execute on it. Because it's a big thing. So, yeah. Brent, what is your 3rd most anticipated game?
My number 3 for this year is Metal Gear Solid 5: Ground Zeroes.
Really? I didn't expect it to be that high.
Yeah, I really have gotten interested in this title. Although I have drifted apart from the Metal Gear series for several games now, and have kind of lost interest in them to a large degree. Ground Zeroes has really reignited my interest in the series. I love the idea of the open world stealth game that Metal Gear Solid 5, both Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain, are going to feature, and the gameplay demo that we've seen for Ground Zeroes really solidified to me that this is going to be the kind of Metal Gear game that I've wanted to see for a long time. I've long thought that they needed to do an open world version of that game. I like open world games. I find that the freedom to go anywhere, to do anything, and to do things in a non-linear fashion really increases the sense of immersion for me personally. Mm-hmm. And I think that what they are proposing sounds very promising, and I'm curious to see how it plays and how it ultimately feels. But yeah, I have to say that the Ground Zeroes is really one I've got my eye on at the moment.
Cool.
Did you hear the news where they talked about Metal Gear Solid 5? Like the follow-up is going to be like 100 times the size of the world that's in seeing Ground Zero, which to me is amazing because Ground Zeroes does look pretty damn,
huge,
big.
Yeah.
And just to think that it could be just that much more so is awesome.
Yep.
All right, so I'll go ahead and move on to my my number 3. I will say my list. I'm very fickle, and my list will literally change like day to day, sometimes hour to hour. And I'm going to start off with the third most looked forward to game this year is probably for me going to be Mario Kart 8. And I know that doesn't sound like a title that people will be like, I'm looking really forward to that. I just really love fun games, just lighthearted games that are good in short spurts, that are just fun. Fun is like the one thing that I always look forward to, and fun for me is like colorful action, quick bites, and that's Mario Kart in a nutshell. And
in a shell.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
I didn't mean that, and I am sorry. I apologize to everybody for that. But anyway, I will say, like, I do think the game, running at 60 frames a second, running high def, like, playing the demo last year at the little Nintendo event that was at Best Buy stores all over the country, really, really dug it. Like the whole kind of reversing, like being upside down, really kind of, it's almost like a mix of like the old F-Zero tracks, like where you kind of magnetic lock to the walls and go upside down and that sort of stuff. It's almost like they've added that to it, so really looking forward to that personally.
Cool.
But DK, you want to take us on to your number 2, which would actually be number 3?
Yeah, and I will just say to your thing too, like I'm really excited because we're finally getting a Wii U, and like when I showed the kids the trailer for that and this new Super Smash Brothers, they're like, we have to have, like, it was like, yes, we actually have to have a Wii U at this point.
We actually have to have that, yeah.
So, but
awesome.
Anyway, so number 2 for me is Thief. I went to Montreal, visited to check this game out. I'm hugely excited about the potential of this game. And I'll be 100% honest in that I feel like it's either going to be really great or really not great. And I'll just say this:
somewhere between those two.
I don't think it'll be
as long as you've narrowed it down.
That's right.
And what I mean by that is that, like, what I've seen of the game and everything, it's all about how you immerse yourself in this experience that they're creating. And I really feel that it's going to take a little bit of effort on behalf of the player to take some time to figure that out, what they want to get out of the experience. Because it's a modern game. They have to build in assists. They have to build in all this kind of, they have to throw in a few action elements, do this, that, and the other thing. But really, its roots are on the foundation of the stealth franchise, pretty much, stealth genre, I should say. And, Thief, what I've seen of this game, it looks really good, but I'm really hoping that these last few months of development, they've polished a lot of things and provided the player with the atmosphere and experience that we all want out of this game. So I have huge expectations for this game, and I'm hoping that it lives up to it. Again, I'll be playing this on the Xbox One, so I'm looking forward to seeing how it pans out. Hopes are pretty high. So there you go. That's my number 2 game, Thief, Eidos Montreal.
Very cool. Very
Sweet.
Cool. Brent,
What?
how about yourself?
My number 2 game for 2014 is Watch Dogs. This was one that I was really anticipating last year too, but that didn't work out, as we all know. This was what would have been, I guess, my top launch title for the PlayStation 4. This was the game I was really, really looking forward to playing when I got my PlayStation 4, and I was really, really disappointed that I didn't get a chance to play it.
Right.
So that was really a shot in the nuts. But I remain.
We talk about your nuts a lot on this show today.
It's because they're freezing. It's because they're freezing. I remain really, really excited about playing Watch Dogs. I think that the game looks great. I think that the gameplay being offered in Watch Dogs is really interesting. I'm excited to see how the mobile companion app works into the game. I'm excited about what I'm hearing about the Assassin's Creed 4 mobile companion app, and I'm excited to see where Ubisoft takes that with Watch Dogs. That's an aspect of next gen games that I'm very, very interested and curious about.
Yeah.
And I think that Watch Dogs has the potential to really, really do something pretty spectacular with their mobile app. But this is one that I really want to play, and I think for reasons that everybody is familiar with, it's a great looking game. It's a very interesting premise, and I think that there's potential for really unique gameplay, and that's going to be a great thing to kind of kick off the next generation this year.
Totally, I agree.
Very good. Good call. I agree with you as well.
So you are playing it on a next-gen platform. You're playing on PS4, like you said. You're not going to...
That's a great question, actually, because, I was going to get it on PlayStation 4 because, again, it was going to be a launch title, but now, it's kind of like, well, do I get it on PlayStation 4 like I was going to, or do I get it on PC, or,
right.
But yeah, it'll be PlayStation 4 or PC.
Cool.
Yeah. Very cool.
What about you, TG?
All right. Well, my number 2 is one that actually, hopefully, we'll be playing here in the not too awful distant future. And that is infamous Second Son.
Ooh, yes.
For the PS4. Yes. I will say, kind of actually speaking to a little bit to what Brent was just talking about, the fact that, a couple of the titles that I think people were most excited about for like some of the next gen systems either didn't make it to launch, like in the case of Watch Dogs, or were titles that we kind of knew were coming a little after launch. And Second Son was definitely one of those that, like, during all the videos they showed, like during the trailer, like you're like, Knack, that looks pretty impressive. That looks kind of neat. A Killzone, that looks good. It really looks awesome. But Second Son just looks.
It looks next gen. It looks like
next gen. It does look like something that could not be done before. Just looks like that good.
It does look good.
And again, going back to my sort of thing, it looks fun. I love the sort of the nature of, they showed the one of the newer gameplay trailers came out, I guess it was a month or so ago, that showed, like, how he can kind of pull in different things. Like, it's not just the, like, fire power that you sort of see in the original trailer. You sort of see, like, this, like, neon sort of smoke, power and all this sort of stuff. And I love the idea that it looks like it'll be more... Like the world will be bigger than even maybe we kind of thought it would be, or at least the things you can do within it. So, looks very, very cool. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And the great thing about it is it's not that far off. It's we're only talking like 2 months off, I guess, or
totally.
a little more. So definitely looking forward to that. And good thing is it's not too terribly far off.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I think that brings us to you're number 2, Daniel, because you're weird. And you
My number 2,
but you're number 1 for most anticipated. What you going for?
I definitely, like I was mentioning before, I second your opinion on Second Son and Watch Dogs for Brett and everybody, and those are in my top 10. But if you give me one game right now, aside from Zelda Wii U, that I could sit down and say, out of all these games, what would you want to play right now just to see what happens with it? For me, this Dragon Age Inquisition. That's my number 1 most anticipated game, and here's why. I'm really looking forward to The Witcher, but I think we know what to expect out of The Witcher. It's going to be a prettier version of kind of what's there, and it's going to finish out Geralt's story. With Dragon Age Inquisition, we have this really interesting blend. The first game was heavy RPG, had a big fan base, or at least a loyal fan base. They went more action-oriented with the second one. A lot of people didn't like it. I actually really liked the second one and enjoyed it, but they got so much feedback, and now they're not only kind of taking 2 distinctly different experiences from within their own franchise, but they're stepping it up to next gen. And as somebody who's a big fan of BioWare, I love role-playing games, I'm really fascinated by this project to see what they do, because they're trying to please fans of both games, being next gen, the stuff that I've seen from it. And again, like you mentioned, Tony, things change over time. I might adjust this up, my most anticipated list on Phase List, as we see new media. Something for The Witcher might come out and completely blow me away, and it jumps up to number 2 or whatever. I don't know. But as of right now, in the latest media that we've seen and kind of the artwork and the video from Dragon Age Inquisition, I'm extremely excited and hopeful that they'll find this nice blend of pleasing the Dragon Age audience while also delivering a kick-ass next-gen RPG. So there you go, Dragon Age. I'm hoping that, and of course that's in lieu of the fact that we have to wait a while for Mass Effect. So might as well.
Very cool. Then I think it's a good call. I'm not ever been a huge fan of the series necessarily, but I knew you were a big fan of it. But then I guess they kind of made some choices in the second one. It's sort of, you've been a little bit back and forth on the series, I think, at times, and I'm glad to see that, like, the new direction looks like it's going to be a kind of a best of.
Have you seen the video? I mean, like the graphics look really good, and they're really doing a lot of stuff. So obviously, I think if they get the gameplay right and the graphics look next gen, and it could be a really great, one of the first great next gen RPGs.
Yeah, and I think that's very cool too, because sometimes being the first 2 on the platform kind of sets that stage. So very cool. I'm looking forward to that. I will keep an eye out for it as well.
Cool.
Brent, what is your number 1 for the year?
My number 1 for 2014 is Tom Clancy's The Division.
Ooh.
which I think is a really, really fascinating looking title.
Yes, it
I'm
is.
exceptionally interested in this notion of the persistent, massively multiplayer online world that the game takes place in, and combining the third-person shooter mechanics with the kind of RPG leveling up stuff, the companion app that they've talked about, and the ability to play with your friends on the go with a tablet and still take part in the gameplay. That's all very, very fascinating. I think that it's a very, very ambitious title, and I think that it looks like it could be a lot of fun. Now, having said all that, there's like a story from today that's a rumor from an unnamed source in Ubisoft that's claiming that they've barely started development on this game, and that this source feels there's like no chance in hell that it actually comes out this year. I don't know. I don't know how much stock to put in that or not. They've certainly showed off. Showed off what looks to be gameplay. They showed off that tech engine demo, or the engine tech demo for us. The Snowdrop engine at the VGX.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Looks fucking phenomenal.
Right.
Yeah.
So certainly it seems that they've at least got some stuff in place, but however far along the game is, I don't know. But anyway, I'm hoping that rumor is just a rumor and does not turn out to be the case, because I really, really want to play The Division in 2014 and not go through another Watch Dogs. So until we hear something a little bit more concrete, The Division remains in my number one slot for this year.
It looks pretty ambitious. I'm fearful that it's going to be on that other side of things. But they've got a ton of people there not working on Patriots now that maybe they could.
Always look on the bright side of life, kids.
Maybe they could put them to some good work over there and help them finish out the division a little earlier. All right. Well, so my last one is always. I think I always kind of pick something and people are like, "What, really?" But like, I'll be honest with you, it's in terms of what I'm looking forward to the most. I'm a huge fighting game fan, and as I've always found, is like the third iteration, which is, I have to say the third iteration, because Capcom does this with like every fucking fighting game they just about ever do. They like bring out the game, they tweak it a little bit more for the second one, tweak it a little bit more for like the third or fourth one, but it's like the third version is always the best. My favorite fighting game of all time is Street Fighter 03, the third of the Zero or Alpha series. Just my favorite game, and so I'm looking most forward to Ultra Street Fighter 4, which is going to be like the third iteration. So basically, it's going to have the most characters. They're adding 5 new characters, 4 that are basically coming from the Street Fighter X Tekken series, and 1 new one that is coming from I believe it's coming from like the comic book side of things, which I'll be honest with you, I don't really read, so I'm not really sure what that character is going to be like or anything, but I like that. I feel like this is going to be sort of like the penultimate definitive version of 4, and so it's kind of like, I think that this is going to be it for 4 if I were to call it. Right. We might see some little tweaking, balancing later, but this will be the last of this current kind of generation of the game, which is usually the best. They just kind of it's going to have more backgrounds, the most characters of the series. Everything's going to be tweaked as good as it can be. And so it's kind of like the best version of it, and that's why I'm excited about it. But I'm also sort of excited that I'll be looking forward to the thing after this. Like, I think they have to do this. They have to kind of round out the 4 series franchise and then move on to, hopefully, a Street Fighter 5 that will be on, newer hardware, next-gen kind of systems. Because this is still going to be running the same engine that they've been running. I'm sure they'll tweak it, and it'll, probably, look the best that it can. But anyway, I'm very much looking forward to that, and kind of wrapping up that Street Fighter 4 franchise. I could be proven wrong. They could do a Ultra Turbo, EX Arcade Edition 2014.
When it does come out,
this is Capcom.
Can I kick your ass in it when it does come out?
Probably not, but yeah, we can try.
We can try.
I mean,
that's good.
You did beat me in Wipeout one time.
I did one time using my NedgeCon. Hey, so that is everyone's list. And I do want to point out the public list. Obviously, those are our individual lists, and I think it's very interesting to look at. And this isn't, just designated for 2014 games, just most anticipated games in general on Fave's list.
I put Uncharted 8 on my list
because
I'm looking most forward to it.
Just go ahead and get that in there. Why wait?
Yeah.
So backtracking from, we'll just run these down real fast so everyone knows. And if you want to, obviously you could make an impact on this list. But at number 10 is Infamous Second Son. Number 9 is Dark Souls 2, game none of us mentioned, but I think a lot of people are looking forward to. Obviously with it being number 9 there. Half-Life 2 Episode 3 is at number 8. Final Fantasy 15. Of course, Half-Life 2 Episode 3. Been waiting a long time for that. Most people want that. Final Fantasy 15 is number 7. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is number 6. Persona 5 is fittingly at number 5. Metal Gear Solid 4. 5, sorry. The Phantom Pain is at number 4.
This whole numbers thing has gone wrong on us, hasn't it? This is just...
Super Smash Brothers for both the Wii U and 3DS is number 3. A lot of people have ranked The Last Guardian in second place as their most anticipated game, and the number one.
That's so cute.
It is cute.
That's adorable.
The number one most anticipated game on Fave's list right now is Watch Dogs. So
there you have
lots of hype, and I think that falls in line. I think we've all consistently mentioned that. So no pressure, Ubisoft, but make it kick ass.
But it better be good. All right, guys. Well, it is coming up near the end of this week's skirmish, but first, we of course have our battle cries of the week, and my battle cry is going to go out to a little story posted on Tiny Cartridge. If you ever visit there, they do mostly Nintendo portable, 3DS, DS, but also a little bit of Vita and mainly portable gaming type stuff. And they had a story up there talking about one of my favorite games for the Nintendo DS ever, which was Game Center CX and CX2, or if you ever played Retro Game Challenge, that was the first Game Center CX game brought over here. They never actually brought the second one out over here, and that's the story, is that there's actually a fan translation that is making some really good progress. Game Center CX is kind of just like, it's like the sort of mini games, like where you kind of play through old kind of pseudo retro games. They're not real games from back in the 80s and 90s and whatnot, but they're designed to play and look like them, and you basically play a little kid who is kind of going through playing these different games and getting better and better, and kind of moving on to more
isn't there like
games.
there's like a whole mechanic in the game where there's like virtual game magazines that you can read through and get tips and stuff.
And they're Game Fan magazines is what I love, because
Right.
Game Fan's one of my favorite magazines of the old days. But yeah, it's exactly right. They even took from Game Center CX, which is actually a show in Japan that a lot of you might know, but it's basically where a guy about our age plays through these old games and tries to play through to beat them in like a 12-hour period and things like that. And it's one of my favorite shows. Love the game, but the cool thing is this one particular game never came out in the States, and so a bunch of fans have gone through and translated it, which sometimes translating wouldn't be that big a deal because it's just a few menus and stuff. But this has like entire like text-based adventure games, like where you go through, so I mean there's like tons and tons of text in it, and they're making really good progress. So hopefully here in the next few months we might see a finalized version of that, and I'm just excited about it because we're going to have Game Center CX3, which is going to be on the Nintendo 3DS, coming from a different studio than the ones that made the first two games, which I'm a little disappointed by, because actually just got followed by Indie Zero, which is the guy that did the NES remix game the previous two Game Center CX games. So I'm excited about that. But anyway, very cool. If you have like a flash card or something like that, you can, of course, if you own the ROM, which I do, own the game, you can flash that and play the game with translated menus and text and everything. So
Sweet.
Cool.
very, very, very cool if you're a fan of that series. Alrighty, so Brent.
Yep.
What's your battle cry this week?
My battle cry this week goes out to an article from our old friend Jess Condit, which is an editorial on Joystick about the Steam machines. Jess is at the CES show in Las Vegas, and she checks in with an article talking about her initial impressions of the Steam machines. Of course, at this point, I think that Valve has officially unveiled 13, I want to say 13 Steam machines from different manufacturers in price ranges varying from $500 up to like $2,000, I think.
Actually, there's one.
There's one that's like $6,000. Yeah, you're right. There's one that's like $6,000. So anyway, Jess's article just talks about how it seems as though what we're seeing, at least initially from this round of Steam machines, is Valve's commitment, maybe for better or worse depending on your perspective, to openness, and that it really, although I think many of us, and maybe myself included, really thought that like the Steam Machine was going to be a bridge between PC gaming and console gaming. And it really is not going to be that. It's not going to be the kind of one-size-fits-all solution that console gaming is, and that the variability in what a Steam Machine can be, what it can do, and most importantly, what it can cost is pretty wide. And that Valve really, really is committed to this idea of an open platform, and that means that it can be just about anything, depending on the manufacturer or the customer that's involved. So it's a really interesting article. I'd encourage you to read about it. I remain really interested in the Steam Machine and what it's going to mean for Valve specifically and our industry overall. It'll be very, very interesting to see how people respond to this, to see whether or not it's only PC gamers that get involved in this. And Tony and I were having a conversation about this the other night, and we were talking about this whole point of, can the Steam Machine appeal to anybody that's not already into PC gaming? Can they actually pull people from the console side of the fence over the aisle and get them interested in this if it's not going to offer a more cohesive console-like experience? And those are all really valid questions, and I hope that we'll start to get the answers to that later this year when these things start coming out. So anyway, that's my battle cry right now, is just keeping one eye on the Steam Machines and how that situation is developing.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I kind of mentioned to Brent that I had also just read the article and was thinking that it's a great take on it. I don't think that it's not too one-sided. Like, it's not just like, hey, it's a bad idea and it's stupid, or hey, it's a great idea and it's the future. It's like, hey, here's some of the problems. She did a really great job of breaking it down, and I think it's very, very interesting times that we're in right now to see how that's going to turn out.
True enough.
DK, what is your Battle Criles?
Battle Criles?
I'm trying to say it like French or something. I don't know.
That's definitely not it. So anyway, my battle cry goes out to the team behind a new mod that is gaining a lot of momentum called Skywind. Of course, we have seen a ton of Skyrim mods, a ton of Elder Scrolls mods in general. And this week I did a little, just a write-up. I had seen some stuff online and wanted to spread the word about this mod from the Elder Scrolls community, who are merging the world of Morrowind with a more advanced tech and the modern game engine of Skyrim, and kind of recreating it. Started with a very small team, but they then graduated and started taking on people who were looking to utilize their expertise in particular areas, whether it be voice acting or animation or whatever, creating the music for the game itself. But they now have over a team of 70 people who are working on this project, and it's just sheer passion that is getting these people to do this, and they're really excited about sharing their work, not only with Elder Scrolls fans but with Bethesda as well. And I love people doing things from a position of being passionate about something and wanting that to shine through, and it definitely does. They put a little trailer out this week that kind of showcases what they've accomplished thus far. You should definitely check it out, called Skywind, and I wish the team behind that mod a lot of luck and just to have fun along the way. It's actually downloadable now. People who want to check it out could download it, as long as you have a copy of both games and the proper expansion packs, and that they are legit games, not pirated copies of the games. They explicitly say that those will not work with their mod. So anyway, I wish this team a lot of luck and hope they have fun and continue to share their story, because as someone who doesn't have nearly as much time, I'm living vicariously through them.
Very cool. All right. Well, I believe I have the member battle cry this week. So this one goes out to Aussie Legend.
Oh, our good friend.
Yes, and he says, he's obviously, he's a smart guy. I think we just start off by saying that Aussie Legend is just I'm just saying, before we read anything, this guy's
let's just establish it, obviously.
Yeah, let's just establish that, and let's see what he had to say. Aussie Legend says, completely agree with see. There we go. Completely agree with Tony about Dragon's Crown on the Vita.
Yeah.
As a huge beat-em-up fan, especially the old-school variety, not to say that there haven't been ones lately, of course, that even Charlie Murder from this year was a pretty good effort, and it's honestly one of the best I have played. I also played the Mysteria HD remake this year, and in my opinion, Dragon's Crown beats it. It's right up there with Guardian Heroes, which is his usual favorite beat 'em up, and among the best the genre he's ever played.
Nice.
And I think it's very cool. And I will agree. Like, I've heard a lot of people compare it to Guardian Heroes, which is on the Saturn, which a lot of people honestly didn't get a chance to enjoy because Saturn just is one of those platforms that not a lot of people got to play. But it's an amazing game, and it really it is sort of like that, and like Shadows of Mysteria, and like the Capcom arcade games of the day. So, but yeah, I think it's like it's got all that was great about those old school games, but then brings to it what the high def graphics and like the newer stuff that we've got these days. So very, very cool, and Aussie Legend is just. God, he's just so right.
He's just a shit.
Just so right about so many things.
Right.
Good looking, smart, great tastes in both podcast personalities and video games.
It really doesn't get much better.
Yeah.
But that's just one man's opinion. But anyway, that is going to do it for this week's Skirmish. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this week, and please join us once again next week when we will be mercilessly cleaving the fat from the gaming stories of the day.
Unless Brent has a baby.
Yeah. Unless Brent has a baby.
Unless his wife has a baby.
Honestly, have to call someone because that will be scary.
That's right. We're on baby watch, so just keep in mind that if that happens, the show release schedule might become interrupted. Yes. By baby.
We are in that sweet spot now. It's like it's any time.
It really is. Our doctor has impressed upon us that it really can be any time.
He basically said, don't do any podcasts.
And coincidentally, Baby Watch is the name of the first DLC for Watch Dogs, actually.
And a great name for a band.
And a great name for a band.
All true.
We are Baby Watch. Thanks for coming out tonight. Woo!
We love you, Seattle. Good night.
Remember to spit up milk on your friends if you liked what you heard.
That'll become like the new craze, like the knockout game that that people post to YouTube. The spit up game.
Let's not give it any ideas.
It's stupid. I was gonna say it's stupid enough to match the knockout game.
It could work. Yes.
Yeah, it's true. All right, guys. So that, of course, did wrap it up. So don't forget, cry havoc and don't go outside without clothes on. Unless it's not cold. Unless you're at a beach and then go out without clothes on, because that's what.
Unless you're at a beach on the Great Lakes in Chicago, in which case disregard that advice. It was so cold yesterday.
That would be Lake Erie.
It was so cold yesterday. I stepped outside. I was wearing I had several layers on, and my torso felt very, very warm. But it was so cold that it basically felt like I was wearing no pants at all. That's how cold it was.
Are you sure you were wearing pants?
What? Listen, how can we be sure of anything in life, really?
Pants are just a construct.
What are pants?
Okay, well, let me look up the definition. Pants, something not required for podcasting. Oh, that's interesting.